Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Vedinamane Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Vedinamane Saraswati Gaurvani Nirvishesha Paschadrishata Namaste Saraswati Gaurvani Paschadrishata Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschadrishata Deva Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
जय श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री कृष्ण जन्माष्टमी की जय, जय गौर प्रेमानंदे
जय।
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। So we are continuing on our class from yesterday, discussing the appearance of Krishna in this world, which is indeed very mysterious. We were quoting a verse yesterday, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, and the birth and activities of Krishna are divine. They do not come under the legislation of the laws under which we are as conditioned beings. Krishna appears by his own sweet will, and all the arrangements for his appearance are made by his internal potency. And we will see today that this same internal potency is also appearing along with the Lord. So this is very it is a very mysterious topics. So yesterday we heard of the background of his appearance, going as per the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna usually appears when there is trouble in the world. He's in charge of the maintenance of this world, and he appears when there is trouble. We discovered universal management yesterday that we are not usually aware of, that actually there are personalities who are managing the various planets, and there are personalities who are looking after the order in the various planets, and there are personalities who are doing, in one sense, the police in this world. And whenever there is a trouble somewhere, then either the demigods, as we call them, can themselves take care of it, or they take shelter of the Lord. So this is something that we contemplated yesterday. We saw the difference between the pious mentality and the demoniac mentality. The pious mentality causes the soul to take shelter of Krishna as soon as there is trouble. And we saw the earth as a demigoddess approach Lord Brahma, who in turn, together with her, approached Krishna for shelter from the demoniac forces. So they took shelter in the Lord. That is the mentality of the devotee. And in contrast to that, yesterday we saw Kamsa. When there was trouble for him, or at least a threat that came with the Akashvani, he heard that the 8th child of her sister would kill him. And immediately he felt threatened. And what did he do when he felt threatened? Instead of calling upon Krishna to protect him, he immediately took shelter in violence, in his own strength. Immediately became hateful, extremely self-centered, and we saw how, someone who is under the control of this demoniac, selfish mentality is someone who is very chanchala, can change at any time, because actually Prabhupada explicit first is riding on the chariot of the mind, manoratena, is driving in the chariot of the mind. And the mind has two functions. One is to accept and one is to reject. And the mind usually accepts things which are favorable for one's material sense gratification and for oneself, for one's own concept of the self, which is the body. And whenever there is danger for the body, then immediately we reject. So here, even though Kamsa looked very, very affectionate to his sister, he was driving her, acting as a chariot driver for her and her new husband Vasudeva. As soon as there was a threat, immediately in 1 second, he completely switched, and instead of being affectionate, he became hateful, envious, and he immediately grabbed his sister by the hair and wanted to cut off her head with his sword. So this is the unfortunate situation in this world. Conditioned souls, when they come under the control of tamas, rajas, become demoniac, extremely selfish, they will not consider who, Prabhupada said, they do not consider who is mother, who is father, who is sister, who is husband, who is wife. As soon as their own self-interest is put into danger, immediately they will kill anyone. They will turn against anybody. So this is, and they will take shelter in material shelters. They take shelter in their own strength. They take shelter in money. They take shelter in anything, material relationships, and it goes further. Some people take shelter in intoxication. Some people take shelter in illicit activities, in sinful activities. So this was the background. Here we see the demoniac forces and the devotee Vasudeva, how beautiful he was, and how he maintained his cool. Actually, Vasudeva remained very cool. As that, this is another aspect, is that those of demoniac nature immediately become disturbed in mind and very agitated. Whereas we saw Vasudeva very cool. He was cool enough to be able to think what to do. And we saw how he came up with various arguments, proposing Kamsa various things, but Kamsa was not agreeable to anything. The only thing he agreed with is when Vasudeva gave him his word that any child that will be born, I will deliver to you. Then somehow he was pacified and they proceeded. So we came up to the point where actually Vasudeva and Devaki get imprisoned after the birth of their first child, who gets killed by Kamsa. We saw how the demigods are watching from the heavens, from their positions, and they are always eager to make sure that Lord Krishna will appear and that Kamsa will, not become favorable to his sister, which could attract the compassion of Krishna. But we know that it's all, the demons, they don't change so fast. They were giving lots of trouble in all the provinces, all around. They were ruling so many demoniac kings. So what happened after this is that once Kamsa heard from Narada that actually there was a conspiracy from the side of the demigods there, that the demigods were actually appearing in the families of the Yadu dynasty, and that the Lord himself was going to appear. Then he started taking measures. We said he started sending his people to kill all the newborn children, search for all the children newly born everywhere and kill them. And he made alliances with all kinds of demoniac personalities. And we know the names of all of them, who were the friends of Kamsa. In the Bhagavatam, we can hear Pralamba, Pakka, Chanura, Trinavarta, Mushtika, Arishta, Dvivida. These are all the demons later on that will be attacking Krishna in Vrindavan. So he had made alliance with all of them, including Putana, Keshi, Dhenuka. So he called all these demoniac people witches. He called all of them so that they would be on his side to persecute the Yadus. And as a result of that, most of the Yadus, they fled. They fled away, and they fled far away, some of them, to kingdoms that were ruled by pious kings. They fled away. And the Shukadeva Goswami explains that a few of them remained. A few of them remained, such as, for example, Akrura. Some of them remained. Why they remained? Remember, there was a conspiracy. So some of them had a role to play. So somebody like Akrura remained. And he acted as a kind of, he was kind of friendly with Kamsa. But he had a role to play in the Leela. So those who had some role to play in the Leela, they stayed. And most of the others, they fled away. So 6 of the children, year after year, one child took birth and one child was killed. They were all boys, little boys. And we saw as this actually signified the purification. Before the Lord can appear, the Lord cannot appear in any mundane place. It can, and when we talk of place here, we talk of the heart. And the Lord cannot appear in a dirty heart. The Lord has to appear in a pure heart. So the heart of Devaki was getting purified year after year after year after year, until she became Amala. She became completely pure. And when this happened, then the Lord himself began to manifest himself. This was the 7th pregnancy. The 7th pregnancy of Devaki. We'll read here in the Bhagavatam. Saptamo Vaishnavam Dhama Yam Anantam Puchakshase Garbho Babhuva Devakya Harsha Shoka Vivardhana. This is how Shukadeva Goswami is describing. After Kamsa, the son of Ugrasen, killed the 6 sons of Devaki, a plenary portion of Krishna entered her womb as her 7th child, arousing her pleasure and her lamentation. Harsha Shoka. You say Harsha means happiness and Shoka means lamentation. So Devaki was very pleased. She understood, because the presence of the Lord she felt that the personality that had now entered her womb, it was not like the previous ones. She understood the divine presence within her. So she was very happy, but at the same time, she was very distressed, because as a mother, she thought that 6 of my children have been killed. Now the 7th one has entered my womb, and Kamsa will also come and kill him. So she was happy and distressed at the same time. So, and here it says that plenary portion is celebrated by great sages as Ananta. So this was the appearance of Baladev. Baladev, that because we are here in Mathura, there's lots of details pertaining to the intricacies of the personalities that took birth in Mathura. As we know, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Krishna is manifested in Golok Vrindavan and in Bhauma Vrindavan. Bhauma Vrindavan is the manifestation of Golok on this planet. So, but Mathura is a realm which is a little bit outside of Vrindavan. So who appeared in Mathura is Vasudev. Vasudev means it's actually not the original Krishna. It's an expansion. We hear in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the Lord, original Lord, the Swarup of the Lord, is Krishna as Govinda, the eternal coward boy of Golok Vrindavan. And Baladev or Balaram is his first expansion, practically identical to himself, except for a difference in the color. Krishna and Balaram look alike, but one is bluish, darkish in complexion, and the other is very fair, whitish practically in complexion. But otherwise, Balaram is very much similar to Krishna and very beautiful. In fact, he is the particularity the particularity of the particular quality of this expansion of Krishna, Baladev, is that he is a manifestation of Krishna's beauty. We know Krishna has 6 opulences, and all the forms that expand from him manifest various opulences of Krishna, of various facets of his personality, of his moods, and so on. This is very elaborately described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Laghu Bhagavatam. He has explained how the Lord expands in different features of himself, become manifest in different forms. So Balaram was very, very beautiful. However, and the Balaram that appears in the womb of Rohini is not the first Balaram, the first expansion of Krishna. No, it is the next expansion. From Balaram expand the Chaturvyuha, 4 different forms. From one form come 4 forms, which are four-handed. They are four-handed, and they are called Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So this is the next expansion after Balaram. And then from this 4 form comes another duplicate of that. And that particular Shankarshan, who is part of the second Chaturvyuha, he appears in Mathura. He appears in Mathura. So this is the one that is now called Ananta, and he has appeared in the womb of Devaki. So whereas the 6 sons of Marichi who had appeared, with their appearance and their disappearance, which for them meant liberation, they were liberated from their material entanglement. All the material contamination left Devaki. And with the appearance of Balaram, the dham was established within her heart. The spiritual energy manifested within her heart. She had to, the Lord had to come into a completely spiritual person, place. And this is indeed the role of Balaram or Shankarshan. The difference between Krishna and Balaram, as we said, is very little, but at the same time is very vast. What is the big difference is that Krishna is Adi Purusha, is the original person, Swarat, self-sufficient person, from whom everything else emanates. And Balaram is known as the Adi Guru, is the first spiritual master. What is the specification? Why is he the spiritual master? Because Balaram is absolutely not touched by any ignorance. And therefore, Balaram knows. He knows that he has come from Krishna. And he doesn't rebel against that, against Krishna. He is in complete harmony with Krishna. And Krishna is often called that he's the master, he's the Lord. In one sense, Balaram is also, but in relationship with Krishna, Balaram takes the position of a servant. And that is how he is the first spiritual master. The spiritual master is one who understands the position of Krishna. And Balaram is the first one who appears, looks at Krishna, and understands, I am his. I have come from him. And therefore, I am here to serve him. So they are the same personality, actually. They are the same. He's a plenary expansion. But the mood, as we said, the mood is little different. Balaram is there to facilitate the pastimes of Krishna. From Balaram expands the entire spiritual realm. Everything which is in the spiritual realm is manifested from Balaram. It is said sometimes that he is Krishna's pillow, is Krishna's bed, is Krishna's paraphernalia. Everything which is meant to be used by Krishna is manifested from Balaram. So same thing here when Shankarshan, the expansion of Balaram, appears in Mathura. He prepares a space within which Krishna can appear, a spiritual space in the heart of Devaki, where Krishna can appear. So, but there was something very specific that happened. Actually, Balaram did not, or Shankarshan did not take birth from Devaki. As we know, he is known as Rohini Sutta, or Rohini Putra, Rohini Nandana. He will actually take birth from another wife of Vasudeva. Now, besides so many Yadus who fled away from Mathura, Vasudeva had several wives. And he kept only Devaki with him. They were imprisoned. The other wives had also fled away. And Rohini had gone to the forest in Mahavat and was under the protection of Nanda Maharaj, who was actually a half-brother of Vasudeva. So she was there. How can a child appear first in the womb of one person and then take birth from the womb of another? So the Bhagavatam next explains that behind the scenes, the Lord, who from Shweta Dweep, remember, he was organizing everything. he spoke to Yogamaya. He spoke to Yogamaya, who is his spiritual potency. He called her and he told her what to do. Something has to be done. And he said, Gaccha Devi Vrajam Bhadre Gopa Gobhiralankritam Rohini Vasudevasya Bharyaste Nanda Gokule Anyascha Kamsa Samvigna Vivareshu Vasantihi. He said, O my potency, who are worshipable for the entire world and whose nature is to bestow good fortune upon all the living entities. Bhadra is her name, all auspicious one, Devi. And what is to be done? Immediately, she stood in front of him with folding hands. Yes, what can I do? And he says, Gaccha Devi Vrajam. Gaccha Devi, oh Devi, Gaccha Vrajam. Go to Vraj. Go to the land of Raj, which is a very beautiful place. Go here along Kritam, which is decorated with cowherd boys and cowherd men and cows, where there live many cowherd men and their wives, in that very beautiful land where many cows reside. There, Rohini, the wife of Vasudeva, is living at the home of Nanda Maharaj. Other wives of Vasudeva are also living there incognito because of fear of Kamsa. Please go there. And in that order, so I told her to go there. You go to Vraja, the land of Raj. And one of the missions that he gave her actually was to free the devotees from fear. The devotees are very, when they take shelter of the internal potency of Krishna, they become fearless. So he asked her to please manifest yourself there. And once you will be there, the devotees will not be afraid. Then he explained further that within the womb of Devaki is my partial plenary expansion known as Shankarshana or Shesha. Without difficulty, transfer him into the womb of Rohini. Wow. That is why actually he is known as Shankarshan. Karshan means attracted. He is the one who was attracted from the womb of Devaki into the womb of Rohini. So, so this is the order of Krishna. That so Yogamaya was wondering, how will I do that? But the fact is that when Krishna gives an order, or the spiritual master gives an order, it is to be understood that the power to execute the order is also there. And what is required is our faith. If we have faith, then we can do. When Srila Prabhupada was preaching in the early days of the Hare Krishna movement, he was in America in the beginning. And Prabhupada had this vision that in you, there are temples all over the world. There are thousands of devotees all over the world. Even sometimes he said they are all devotees. Some know it and some don't know it yet. So his disciples who joined, from the external point of view, we could say they were not looking very qualified. They came from degraded families, we could say many of them, families involved with sinful activities. Many of them came from what we call the hippie background. They were not following any good principles before meeting Srila Prabhupada. And some of them even had been damaged by their lifestyle, and their brain was a little dysfunctional. But they had faith in Srila Prabhupada. They had what is called Guru Nishta. So with that kind of faith, when Srila Prabhupada ordered them, basically within 1 month, 2 months of somebody staying in a temple, the person would be asked to lecture, the person would be asked to address the public, the person would be asked after a couple of months to just go and open a preaching center somewhere. And what did they know? They knew, well, Krishna is God. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita. They knew whatever they had heard from Srila Prabhupada. They were not like us today, that we have so many books to refer to. We have millions of lectures to hear and so on. There were no books at that time. And they knew only what they had personally heard from the mouth of Srila Prabhupada. But whatever he said, they believed. And they took his order and went. So here we see Yoga Maya. She takes the order of Krishna on her head. She circumambulates, it is said. She does the parikrama. She will circumambulate the Lord respectfully, and then she will appear. She will descend. So Krishna himself is explaining her that, oh auspicious Yoga Maya, I will appear as the son of Devaki, and you will appear as the daughter of Mother Yashoda. So you have this job to do, that first you manage attracting Balaram or Shankarshan from the womb of Devaki into the womb of Rohini. And then you enter the womb of Yashoda. And I will enter the womb of Devaki. So they are working together in this manifestation. And Yoga Maya, she is the eternal potency of Krishna. And she can manifest, she has two manifestations. There is Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. Yoga Maya means the material potency, which is bewildering all the living entities all over the world. And Mahamaya is the internal potency, which frees the living entities from material bewilderment, but at the same time also bewilders them spiritually. For example, in the land of Braja, Yashoda Mai would never understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Not that she was ignorant, no, she was the greatest devotee. Yashoda Mai, Srimati Radharani, they are the greatest devotees. So Yashoda Mai particularly, being such a great devotee, to be so close to the Lord, to control him, to beat him sometimes, tie him with a rope, how intimately she is connected with him. So she knows the Lord perfectly, but by the power of Mahamaya, she does not actually understand that Krishna is God. Sorry, maybe I switched the two in the talk here. The two Mayas. But the energy of the Lord can either act as the material energy or can act as the superior energy. So here, as the superior energy, she is dragging Balaram out of the womb of Devaki. And how is this going to manifest? Is that it will look like Devaki had a miscarriage. Like every time, Kamsa was waiting for the birth of the child because he is counting. 1, it wasn't Vishnu. 2, it wasn't Vishnu. 3, it wasn't Vishnu. 4, it wasn't Vishnu. He's counting now. 5, 6, now comes 7. So now there are 2 chances. Either he will come as number 7 or he will come as number 8. Because remember, he was told it can be anyone. So he knows that the next one, now there's only 2 choices, 7 or 8. So it will be either 7 or 8. So he was waiting that the 7th child is going to take birth. But then it did not happen. Suddenly it seemed that she had a miscarriage. And there was nothing left in her womb. Nobody was there. So this is how it appeared in this. And then next comes the most interesting, exciting part of the story. Astama Garbha, the 8th child of Devaki, is now going to appear. Garbhe pranite devakya rohinim yoga nidraya aho vishramsito garbha iti paura vichukrusho. When the child of Devaki was attracted and transferred into the womb of Rohini by Yoga Maya, Devaki seemed to have a miscarriage. Thus all the inhabitants of the palace loudly lamented, "Alas, alas, Devaki has lost her child." And as it is with Kamsa, who is usually moved left and right by his emotions, when he saw that there was a miscarriage, he was actually sorry. "Oh, my dear sister had a miscarriage. Oh, how sad." He joined in the lamentation and in the compassion. So in the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada actually explains that everything for Devaki happened just like in a dream. It happened in the middle of the night, at midnight actually. She was sleeping. She was pregnant with the 7th child and she was sleeping. And she had a dream. And in the dream, she understood she was having a miscarriage. And next, she had a vision, or she heard Yoga Maya speaking to her, because she felt distress in the dream, understanding she's losing the child. So in the dream she was distressed, and Yoga Maya manifested herself, because it was Yoga Maya was there. She was the one who was manipulating everything. So Yoga Maya spoke to her and said that, "Oh, auspicious lady, do not fear, do not be disturbed. I am transferring your child. I am attracting your child into another womb for his safety." Remember, Harsha Shoka. She was happy and distressed at the same time. So she says, "No fear to be had. Your child will be known as Shankarshan, the one who was attracted from your womb to the womb of Rohini, co-wives of yours. So it is for his safety. And so you do not worry. So in this way, she was pacified. And the verse actually said that she was in yoga nidra, which means that she was not just it was not just a material dream. She was in yoga nidra, which means the kind of sleep that Lord Vishnu is under, which is manifested by the internal potency. So Devaki was already fully spiritualized. Then, immediately after that, Bhagavan api Vishvatma Bhaktanam apyayankaraha avivesham sabhagena nana anakadunduve. This verse describes the descent of Krishna. And that is further interesting. How did Krishna manifest? He is known as Vishvatma, which means he is the Lord of the entire universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He manifested first in the mind of Vasudeva, in the pure mind of Vasudeva. Now, Vasudeva was not an ordinary living entity, nor was Devaki. There's a whole history to them as well, that they had performed tapasya in their previous lives to actually have the Lord as their son. And they were very pure entities, although we heard that there was a purification taking place. But Vasudeva was very pure in mind. And actually the word Vasudeva refers to a specific state of consciousness. It's not just a name like that. It refers to the state of consciousness, which is known as Turiya, and also known as Mathura. It is the fourth state of consciousness, within which the Lord is visible and can manifest himself to the living entity. These stages of consciousness, we know them. The first stage of consciousness is the one we are in right now. It's called Jagrata. It is this waking state. This is under the mode of goodness predominantly. And we can, in the state of awakening, we are aware of our subtle body, we are aware of our gross body, and through the gates, the various gates in our body, we can go out into the world through the eyes, through the nose, through the ears. We can expand our consciousness in this material world, and we can perceive so many things. And this is, even though it is a false identity, it is our primary identity. For a lifetime, we are this person, we are embodied in this personality, and we perform various activities. Then in the evening, irresistibly, this waking state, this Jagrata state, transforms into Swapna, which is the dreaming stage or the sleeping stage, right? In the evening, we cannot resist. Who can stay without sleep? That's where also we can understand the greatness of the Goswamis, the greatness of Srila Prabhupada, who hardly slept. We can give up smoking for those who are smoking. We can give up movies. We can give up relationships. We can give up eating to some extent. But who can give up sleeping? Sleeping is a physiological function in the body, and when sleep comes, it is the control of the mode of ignorance in one sense. Automatically, the consciousness is withdrawn. The doors of the body close. And we can no longer perceive the world around us, but we are still conscious. This is the second stage of consciousness, which is the consciousness of we are asleep. We are sleeping, and sleeping means that the consciousness has withdrawn within the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, ego, and all the objects that we can see in gross forms in the waking state also exist in subtle form. So in the dreaming state, we perceive so many objects in their subtle forms. And we also act. And we also take up some identity, but sometimes we take up different identities. Prabhupada says in the dream, we become a king. Or in the dream, we become some kind of gold hunter somewhere in the forest, and we are attacked by a tiger, and we feel the fear, and we wake up. And when we wake up, we see that, oh, there's no need to have any fear, because it was a dream, unreal. So a dream is considered unreal. This is the second type of consciousness. And then there is a third type of consciousness, which is it is called susupti. Susupti means when we go in deep sleep. The scientists have analyzed all this and found out that when the waves of the mind waves become completely quiet, there's no more thinking going on, because dreaming means we are thinking with words, with images. There is activity in the mind, interactions. When these interactions stop, then there is a state which is deep sleep. And this is when we wake up in the morning and we go like, oh, I slept so nicely. We are aware, meaning that we continue to be conscious through that time, and we experience some kind of well-being there. There's a well-being of, what is the well-being? It's a sort of being, it's a little experience of liberation from the constant interactions of the material energy, either on the gross platform or on the subtle platform. So this is the third state. We are in deep sleep. So in deep sleep, there is no dream. There's no perception. It's a sleep, so there's no perception of our daily existence. There is no dreams. It's simply rest. But then it is explained in the Vedas that there is another state of consciousness beyond this. These three stages of consciousness we just spoke about are material. But there is a fourth state of consciousness, which is called Vasudeva. And that is the state which is beyond the modes of material nature. Jagrata, or waking state, is under the mode of goodness, predominant. Hello. The sleeping state is predominantly under passion, and the deep sleep is under ignorance. So we are numb, under the mode of ignorance. And beyond this, there is the nirguna platform, which is entered into by the yogis in trance, in samadhi. So in that nirguna platform, which is beyond the three modes of material nature, consciousness continues to exist. That is the point, that we are eternal. And consciousness never ceases. There is never a time, there is never a time when we are unconscious. We are always conscious, more or less. So complete consciousness is when our consciousness is no longer affected by the three modes of material nature. that consciousness is the consciousness of the liberated soul. So Vasudeva entered that kind of consciousness. And within the pure mind of Vasudeva, Lord Sri Krishna appeared. He appeared, Prabhupada said that he appeared within the mind of Vasudeva. And Vasudeva carried the form of Lord Krishna within the core of his heart. He says, Vasudeva bore the Lord's transcendently illuminating effulgence, and thus he became as bright as the sun. The Lord is always within us, but he doesn't manifest himself because we are not in the proper consciousness. Vasudeva was in the proper consciousness. He was totally surrendered to the Lord. He was there to facilitate his appearance. And when the time came, the Lord became manifest. And what was the symptom of this, first of all, was that the Lord, we hear always, is effulgence, is effulgent, means his body is like a sun that emanates rays of light. So this effulgence of the Lord was reflected in Vasudeva, who also became effulgent. This is the description of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. It is said that the Lord rose just like a sun within the heart of Vasudeva. And then the Lord was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva into the mind of Devaki. So that is his descent. He first appears. But you can understand, Prabhupada explains, the Lord was not born from sexual intercourse between Vasudeva and Devaki. He appeared himself, he manifested himself in his transcendental form, first within Vasudeva. And Vasudeva then acts as the guru of Devaki. And there is a transfer of the Lord, just as the guru transfers. This is actually what the guru does. This is a function of the guru. The guru gives Krishna to the disciple. But he gives Krishna in a form of seed, if we want. Like he gives us the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is Krishna himself. But it is up to the disciple to then chant Hare Krishna and purify these three stages of consciousness and attain the fourth stage of consciousness and then realize Krishna is full. So the guru gives Krishna to the disciple at the time of initiation. So similarly, this Vasudeva, actually, Krishna was transferred from Vasudeva to Devaki. Accompanied by plenary expansions, the fully opulent Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all auspicious for the entire universe, was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki. Devaki, having thus been initiated by Vasudeva, became very beautiful by carrying Lord Krishna, the original consciousness for everyone, the cause of all causes, within the core of her heart. Just as the East, now there is a very beautiful analogy that is given. She looked like the eastern horizon. What happens to the eastern horizon? In the morning, the eastern horizon becomes illuminated by the sun. So Devaki became just like the eastern horizon in the morning. She, in her turn, became effulgent. Now, this, of course, became known to Kamsa and to everybody. The guards who were there, the people who brought the food, everybody saw, oof, what is happening? They saw Devaki, and she was effulgent. She was shining like a sun, and her face and all the features of her body were so beautiful. She looked so beautiful and so serene, so peaceful, so powerful that Kamsa understood he has come. It is said that Kamsa's mind was fixed upon Lord Krishna. Kamsa will get liberation in the end because his mind was completely fixed on Lord Krishna. It is said after he understood that Krishna has appeared in the womb of Devaki, it is said while walking, while sleeping, while eating, while speaking, all throughout the day, 24 hours, he was thinking of Krishna. The only point was that he was not thinking favorably. Anukulena Krishna Anushilana. Devotional service or service to Krishna has to be rendered in a favorable mood, anukul. But his mood was unfavorable. He was thinking of Krishna with fear, with anger, with envy. And his plan was to kill him as soon as he was actually thinking, what should I do now? He started thinking, what should I do? Should I kill her now? If you kill the mother, usually the child will die. The child is fully dependent on the mother when he's in the womb. So he was thinking, should I kill her now? And then he was reflecting all these things. If I kill her now, number one, she's under my protection. Number two, she's my sister. She's pregnant. So he was going through a list very similar to the list that Vasudeva had given her in the chariot. He knew if I do that, I'll be considered a monster. I will lose all my reputation. So finally he decided that, okay, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait. And as soon as the child takes birth, I kill him. That was his plan. So he was waiting. And in the meantime, Devaki was becoming even more and more beautiful every day. Even though it said that because she was in the prison, no one could see her. Only a few people had the opportunity to witness this very peculiar occurrence, how she was transforming day by day and becoming more effulgent, more beautiful. It is said that she's compared to a light. She's compared to a light which is placed within a pot. When you put a light within a pot, the interior of the pot becomes lit, but you cannot so much see the light from outside. Only a little bit of light is coming out. So in that way, she was hidden. That beauty of her was hidden in the prison of Kamsa. She was jubilant. She was pure. She was smiling. She was completely free from fear. And Kamsa, just by looking at her, became himself completely devastated, completely worried. So we move ahead a little bit here. So many things happened before the Lord actually took birth. Something that happened was that the demigods who were observing everything from their abodes, uh, through their mystic powers, they also understood that now the Lord has appeared. And they descended. They descended in subtle forms and they offered prayers. This is called the Garbhastuti. They offered prayers to the Lord. They circumambulated Devaki, and they sang all kinds of Vedic prayers and mantras and praised the Lord. So we won't have time to hear about that, but the prayers that are manifested in the Bhagavatam, they are most important parts of Srimad Bhagavatam. In these prayers, the Lord is revealed. Usually he's described, his form is described, his powers, his opulences are described. So, very beautiful. Then, finally, at a certain point on a specific day, the Lord Krishna appeared. This is described here. Shri Shuka Vacha Ata Sarvagunopeta Kala Paramashobhanaha Yahyeva Jana Janmarksham Sang Shantarksha Grahatarakam. So some description is given, very beautiful. At the auspicious time for the appearance of the Lord, the entire universe was surcharged with all the qualities of goodness, beauty, and peace. The stars, they arranged themselves in a very auspicious constellations. And the constellation of Rohini, which is considered very auspicious, appeared, as well as the stars called Ashwini. The sun, the moon, and all the other stars and planets were very peaceful, not like now. We are hearing the time of Corona has arrived. And if you check with the astrologers, they'll tell you very terrible constellations. And the planets are placed in such a way that they are fighting with each other, obstructing each other. And this is creating all kinds of disturbances that we are experiencing on this earth. And the peace of the earth is currently very disturbed. People are losing their jobs, and some people don't have enough to eat even due to that because they have no more money. And disease is rampant everywhere. The coronavirus is spreading and spreading and spreading everywhere. There is economic crisis. There is also turbulence on the political level. The states of the heads of the different states are becoming inimical to each other. So this is, because of the way the universe is actually a big mass of matter, and whenever one piece moves here, automatically something else moves. Everything is connected with each other. So when the stars are placed in an auspicious way, everything becomes easy, peaceful, opulent. And when the stars are placed and the planets are placed in unauspicious positions, then everything becomes disturbed. So here we see that all the planets became placed in very good positions, and everything on the earth became peaceful. It wasn't peaceful before that. We heard there was so much disturbance that the goddess of the earth had asked for help. So people were being actually harassed. It is said that the Brahmins particularly, they were being harassed, and they wouldn't even dare lighting the sacrificial fire in their house. But suddenly when the birth of Lord Krishna became closer and closer, the planets became so auspicious that again the Brahmanas, free from fear, started performing their sacrifices. And on the day of his birth, which we understood took place at midnight, and so everything was very auspicious. All the directions appeared extremely pleasing, and a beautiful star twinkled. You know, there was a free sky. Now that was also very mysterious. The sky was clear, dark, and the stars were twinkling so beautifully. They were very bright. And the sky was cloudless, but at the same time, when Lord appeared, you could hear the rumbling of clouds. And this is also very mysterious because there were no clouds in the sky. The sky was beautiful and clear. You could see all the different constellations. Then it says here that the earth became very opulent because when the Lord is descending, his internal potency, we heard, Yoga Maya, is also descending. They are descending at the same time. Krishna is coming in Mathura and she is coming in Vrindavan. And the internal potency of the Lord means all opulence. So Vrindavan at that time didn't look exactly the way it looks now. Now it's almost like a semi-desert. There is sand everywhere, and at certain seasons you cannot see any grass, everything dies. So by the power of the internal internal potency of the Lord, everything bloomed. The trees, the grass, the creepers, the rivers became full of clear water, and the very auspicious birds appeared in Vrindavan. Beautiful animals. The forest became full of fragrance, and there was a transformation that took place. The Dham descended. The Dham manifested so that Krishna could appear. So here it says, everything seemed auspicious. The towns, the villages, the mines, the pasturing grounds, the rivers flowed with clear water. And in the lakes and in the reservoirs of water, many lilies and many lotuses began to bloom. Extremely beautiful. In the trees and the green plants, there were plenty of flowers, leaves. New leaves were growing, flowers were blooming. The birds, like cuckoos and swarms of bees, began chanting with sweet voices for the sake of the Lord. A pure breeze began to flow through the land of Braja, bearing the aroma of flowers. And the Brahmanas understood such an auspicious time. They could feel the difference. And this peace was not only manifested on earth, but this peace expanded all over the universe. And then, so it is said that the demigods from their situation, they began singing. The Kinnaras, the Gandharvas began to sing auspicious songs. The Siddhas and Charanas offered auspicious prayers. And the Vidyadharis, along with the Apsaras, began to dance in jubilation. Big festival in the heavenly planets. Everyone is dancing, singing, because they know they are celebrating already the appearance of them. And then, this is the description. Mumuchurmunayo deva sumanam simutamita mandam mandam jaladhara jagarjuran sagaram nishithe tama udbhute jayamane janadane devakyam devarupinya Devakyam Devarupinyam Vishnu Sarvaguhashaya Avirasi Vyatha Prachyam Dishinduriva Pushkala Devakyam Devarupinyam Devakyam Devarupinyam Vishnu Sarvaguhashaya. This is the description of Krishna's appearance. So beautiful. The demigods and great saintly persons showered flowers in a joyous mood, and clouds gathered in the sky and very mildly thundered, making sounds like those of the ocean's waves. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is situated, it is said, hidden within the heart of all the living entities, appeared from the heart of Devaki in the dense darkness of night, like the full moon rising on the eastern horizon, because Devaki was of the same category as Krishna. So this is what we explained before. She was fully spiritualized. And the Lord manifested. So it was not a birth like a regular birth of a baby. With first Vasudeva realized Krishna. Krishna became manifest in his mind. From the mind of Vasudeva, it entered the mind of Devaki. And he was there and became more and more effulgent. It is said that when Lord Krishna took birth, actually, Devaki became, the effulgence intensified. It just intensified. The room was dark because it was midnight. And at that time, they didn't have like us electricity and that. They had a lamp or something. So very mild light. And in the middle of the night, 12 o'clock means they would have been sleeping or something. But at that time, they were fully awake. And Devaki became, there was an effulgence which emanated from Devaki. And this effulgence grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, so much that it became compared to 1,000 suns. It looked like 1,000 suns have entered the cell where they were living. There was so much effulgence that Vasudeva was protecting his eyes, and they could not see. Actually, their eyes were disturbed. And then, in the midst of that effulgence, suddenly they saw Tamadbhutam Balakam Ambuchekshanam Chaturbhujam Shankagada Judajudam Srivatsalakshmangala Shobhi Kaustubham Pitambaram Sandapayoda Sobhakam Maharha Vaidhurya Kirita Kundala Trisha Parishvakta Sahasra Kuntalam Uddama Changada Kankana Dibhin Virochamanam Vasudeva Ekshata. Vasudeva saw. You have a verse in the Ishopanishad which describes Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Pihitam Mukham Sattvam Tattvam Pushana Pavreno Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye. Oh my Lord. It's a devotee who is also seeing that effulgence of the Lord, and he says, he prays that, oh my Lord, please remove your effulgence, because he knows that the effulgence is coming from somewhere. Where is it coming from? This effulgence is the rays of the body, the transcendental body of the Lord. So he prays to the Lord, please remove this effulgence so I can see your form, so I can see you. So here we see Vasudeva at some point sees within that effulgence, he sees the Lord himself. Adbhuta Balakam, appearing like in the form of a child, Balakam, but Adbhuta, wonderful. Oh, he sees a child, and the child is wonderful. What is wonderful? First of all, that Ambujakshanam, his eyes, most attractive feature, his eyes. His eyes are large, and they are shaped like lotus petals. Very beautiful eyes, large eyes which are almost touching to his ears. And then Chatur Bhujam, he has 4 arms. So that is Adbhuta. That is not a normal child. He is effulgent. And then Shankha Gada Juda Judam, and he is holding the symbols of Lord Vishnu. He has a conch and he has a Padma, a lotus, and he has a mace, and he has a chakra, a wheel. So he's holding different things, and he's dressed. Oh, children do not take birth dressed. They said that if somebody is naked, so that I am in my birth outfit. What is the birth outfit? There's no outfit. But this child was dressed. He was wearing a little piece of cloth, yellow pitambara, yellow piece of cloth. And he was having so many ornaments. He had a kirita, that is a helmet on the head. He had necklaces with the Kaushtuba which was so effulgent in itself. And he had ankle belts, and he had bracelets, and he had armlets. And he has a belt, a jewel belt around his belly. Oh, very beautiful. There was the mark, there was a golden chain on his chest. Oh, so beautiful. And the color.
Hare Krishna Mataji, you are frozen. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prasanta Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Maybe Mataji's internet is playing up. Hare Krishna Mataji. Let's wait for her to join back. Hare Krishna Mataji. Kindly unmute. Mataji,
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Okay.
now.
All right, sorry, there was something with my internet here, so I'm back. So I was describing this Adbhuta Balakam, very beautiful, had a golden chain around his neck, and his color, he was blackish with a bluish hue. He had a bluish hue to himself, and he had long curly hair. Usually babies take birth without hair, or sometimes they have a little bit of hair, but he had fully grown hair. And his hair was scattered, but he had curly hair around his face. He had earrings, which were sparkling, in a very uncommon way. All the jewels on his body were not like, usually our jewels, they hardly shine, little bit. But his jewels were shining so much, and they were reflected on his cheeks. Everything was so beautiful. He was wearing the Veduria gem, and he had bangles as well, and everything looked so beautiful. That was the appearance of the Lord. And after that, the Leela of the Lord begins. This was the prelude, you would say. Now Krishna has appeared. He is here. He has appeared. And Vasudeva immediately understood this is Lord Vishnu. So he immediately bowed down and immediately started to offer prayers to the Lord. The prayers of Vasudeva are recorded they're repeated by Shukadeva Goswami. So he offers prayers, and it says that he offers mentally many gifts, because on the occasion of the birth of a child, the parents are supposed to give in charity. So he offers thousands of cows and horses and everything mentally, because otherwise he was imprisoned. And after he finishes his prayers, Devaki herself offers her prayers. But Devaki is the mother. And here, there are so many intricacies that Devaki and Vasudeva, they are Mathuravasis, and their consciousness switches between their awareness of Krishna being God and their feelings of maternal and parental affection for him, which is a transcendental relationship. It's a transcendental parenthood. It's not material. So when they feel like they are overwhelmed by their transcendental relationship with Krishna, they feel like a parent and they feel like protecting him. And when they realize that, oh, but actually he is God, they ask him to protect them. So they switch between these two types of consciousness. And that is what Devaki does. First, she's like, oh, my Lord, please protect us. You have appeared and so on. And then she becomes overwhelmed with this motherly affection. And this is, oh, hide yourself. What are you doing in that form? You have appeared with 4 arms and all your transcendental attributes. When my brother comes, he will immediately recognize you. You can't stay like this. And she implores him and prays to him, please hide yourself. Become a regular child. And fulfilling the order of his mother, Krishna immediately drops 2 arms, loses his ornaments, but he keeps his hair. But he loses his ornaments and everything, and he becomes a little baby. He becomes a little baby, beautiful little baby. So, I don't know, we'll stop here maybe today. This is the appearance of Krishna, and you know what happens later on is that Krishna will speak to Vasudeva and Devaki. He will speak to them, and he will give immediately instructions. He's still managing. He is the boss. He's in charge, and he's managing. And he tells his father, get me out of here. He says, you have to take me to the house of Nanda Maharaj. You have to take me there. I will not stay with you here. So this was also, I mean, you see the life of Vasudeva and Devaki is quite a disaster. They lost all their children. The 7th one, they had a miscarriage. And now the 8th one, immediately after taking birth, living. And they will see him back only after 11 years. So their service to Krishna is in separation for all these 11 years. And so Vasudeva is going to take Krishna from the hands of Devaki, who again has to give up her child. And so she hands over the child to to Vasudeva. And as we know, at that time it was midnight. The effulgence has now disappeared, and it is dense, dark night. It has started raining outside. We remember that first the sky was completely clear, and then at the very time of the birth, clouds gathered and they rumbled. There was this rumbling of the clouds, and then the rain came. And by the action of Yoga Maya, everyone was asleep, sound asleep. The guards were asleep. Kamsa was asleep. The entire town of Mathura was asleep. Even the dogs were asleep. And the shackles, they were actually in shackles. They were actually bound by shackles. The shackles just opened. The door of the prison opened. And Vasudeva carried the child in a basket, and he carried him wrapped in cloth, and he left. And he knew the way, so he left. He walked through the city. Everyone was asleep, and it was deep, dense, dark. But Krishna was keeping a little effulgence going, so just he could see the way. And he reached the Yamuna, and at that time there was no bridge. People would cross by boat, but there was nothing there. So in the middle, a pathway was made, and Vasudeva walked through the Yamuna. And there was so much rain, so much rain. It is said sometimes that in the middle, Krishna actually dropped in the water, and Vasudeva went crazy, got him back and continued and crossed. And then he arrived in Mahavan, and he had to walk for quite some distance until he reached the village of Mahavan and the village of Gokul. And then he went into the house of Nanda Maharaj. So everything was under Yoga Maya, that she had put everyone in deep sleep. No dogs barked. Normally the dogs would have barked like anything. Someone coming in the middle of the night like this in the village. Not a single dog barked. And he entered the house, and he found the inner quarters, which were the quarters of where the women stayed. And he found the room where Yashoda was. And he came there, and Yashoda was sleeping. And he saw that next to Yashoda, now there are two versions. One version is, next to Yashoda, there was a baby. There was a baby. And he had been instructed by Krishna that you go there and you exchange me with the baby girl. You exchange me with the baby girl. So he put down Krishna and he took the baby girl. And he went back. Now Srila Jiva Goswami explains that actually when he came there, he saw two children. Because Krishna also took birth from the womb of Yashoda, exactly at the same time. When his expansion as Vasudeva took birth from the womb of of Devaki, the Adi Purusha, Sri Krishna, took birth from the womb of Yashoda. And as it was explained before, I'm not sure whether we touched upon this point, that when Krishna descends, all his expansion and plenary portions and avatars and everything merges with him, and they all appear in the body of Lord Krishna. So when Vasudeva arrived there, what actually happened when he put down Krishna, Vasudeva, who was actually Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, his son, that baby merged in the form of Adipurusha Govinda Sri Krishna. So in that way, one little boy, baby boy, was left there. And he took the little girl and went back. He went back and closed the gates of the jail, and then and then he sat there. And as soon as he closed the gates and gave the baby girl to Devaki, what happened? The baby girl started screaming like a baby does when the baby takes birth. And the guards woke up. Ah, the child has taken birth. So they woke up from their sleep and they ran to Kamsa and they told him, oh, Kamsa, the child has taken birth. Kamsa, you know, half dressed, arrived in the cell. And he saw the child and he was angry, envious. He immediately went towards his sister to grab the child. And she was holding the child and telling, no, my brother, no, do not take this child. It is a girl. It is a girl. But the point is that the Akashvani had said, Ashtamu Garbho, means there was no specification whether the 8th child would be a girl or a boy. That was not specified. And therefore, Kamsa, in his madness of fear, he couldn't be bothered whether it's a boy or it's a girl. He just grabbed the child. Instead, he grabbed the child by the feet and he just smashed the child on a stone, which is what he had done with the previous children. But before the child actually hit the stone, the child just escaped from his hand and flew into the sky. Like it went up in the air and manifested as a beautiful goddess with many arms. And the goddess laughed at him. He said, Kamsa, the child who will kill you is already born somewhere else. And she disappeared. And this was the appearance of Maya, said, who is known everywhere in different places by different names and is worshipped, Mahadurga. That was her manifestation. And now Kamsa became devastated. Now he's, what do you say, defeated. He has been defeated. The child is not there. The child is born somewhere else. So he started practically crying, fell at the feet of Vasudev, fell at the feet of Devaki. Please forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. I was like overwhelmed by, you know, my bad qualities. I didn't mean to do this, to give you so much trouble. He was so apologetic and he actually released them and so on. But it doesn't stop there. This is the very beginning of the pastimes. And as usual, he will change his mind and he will again start pestering everybody to find the child that is born. And at the same time, the next morning in Nanda's Bhavan, it is said that joy took birth. Joy took birth in the house of Nanda Baba. Nanda and Yashoda were actually elderly and they had no children. They were elderly. And so it was with great joy that when the maid servants came in the morning, they found that, oh, Yashoda had given birth to a baby boy. So they called Nanda Maharaj and he came and saw the child, took the child, and then immediately there was a big festival, Nandotsav. There was a big festival. They threw so much butter and ghee on each other. That was the way these farmers and what do you call them, cowherds rather. The cowherds would celebrate, and they had so much yogurt, so much dahi, and they spread milk all over the place, and they cut branches of banana trees and they put them everywhere. They put fruit everywhere, and they prepared so many preparations, and they had big feasts with dancing, festival, this, that, music, and they were all very well dressed. They put on their best ornaments and their best clothes and so on. And there was a big, big festival. Nanda Maharaj was very happy. So this was the birth of Lord Krishna. Hari Hari Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hari Hari. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prasanta, dear, I think you forget that time because you live in the spiritual world. On serious note, a lot of people came and went. Punzik was there. He left, but
Okay.
still a lot are hanging on. Thank you. Where's Kirtika? I think she had to... where's her, Kirtika?
I'm here, Mataji.
Oh,
I'm
Sema.
not gone. I'm just
Okay,
here.
Sema,
Okay.
Sema.
Any questions from the group? I don't have any questions on the group. I
No,
have
but first
comments.
ask, hello, first ask Prasanta if she has the time. She gave us almost 2 hours.
Mataji, do
not
you have some time?
Yeah, if there is some question, I have time, yes.
Okay, so there are none on the chat, but there are few comments that I'll read so that people can think of the questions. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the beautiful description of the appearance of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then there's another comment, Hare Krishna.
You have to give
Mataji.
the name, Kirtika.
That comment was from Khushbu. I'm sorry, Mataji. That comment was from Khushbu. Then we have another comment from Collins Diva. And he said,
Kiprotich is the same one.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the awesome and powerful graphic explanation. So Mataji, I think people are stunned at the way you describe. I mean, I don't know about people, but I was as well. I was in awe, and I was picturing what it would be like to see it in real life. And maybe you took us very close to that platform. If there is a question, kindly unmute yourself and ask. But to set the scene, maybe I can ask. Mataji, you said that Vasudeva was in the Turiya Avastha. I might have missed it, you might have said it, but what Avastha was Devaki in? Because she was all radiating and she was all effulgent. So was she in the transcendental state, or what is that state called?
Yes, she was the same. Devakyam, Deva Rupinyam. She was of the same nature as the Lord. Yes, she was transcendental, in transcendental consciousness. One cannot see the Lord when one is under the influence of the material nature. One can only see the Lord when one is under the influence of the spiritual nature. So they were, both of them.
You know, the young people have left. I would have loved to ask you this question, you know, like Krishna appears as Lord Vishnu in his four-handed form. And then, because Devaki begs, the point is, do you know, here in Kenya, we do this Hindu religion where they actually mention that Krishna is an expansion of Vishnu, but none of our young what should I say, participants are there today. It's Sunday, right? So none of them are there. I would have loved to ask, explain this part. Anyway, we can't hear, I don't know. I just feel conscious of other people's time. If they are all okay, you know, why this misconception that Vishnu is the original and Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu. Why this kind? Because of this jail in the him being born. I mean, you explained it Vasudev form, and you also explained about Mother Jashoda. But why this misconception? What's your comments on it, so to speak?
Mataji, Prasanta Mataji, you are frozen again. Prashanta Mataji, she's having internet problems. Maybe she'll join in again. Let's give her 2 more minutes, because it's a very important question, because we all were brought up to believe that Krishna is a form of... Mataji, welcome back. Unmute yourself. Yes, Mata. Hari bol. So the question was, Mataji, why do we have this concept that Krishna is a form of Vishnu?
Yes, because as I said, the Hinduism is something which descends through family traditions, and there is a
Mataji, you are frozen again. Hare Krishna.
This is Vrindavan for you, Baba. It's really, you have to admire Prasanta for living there for so long. Nothing comes the way you want it.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare
yes,
Krishna.
so somehow or other the internet is unstable. I don't know, but Srila Prabhupada and before him Srila Jiva Goswami has extracted numerous references from the Upanishads, from the Vedas, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the Brahma Samhita, from so many scriptures revealing that Govinda is the all in all. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Radhiva Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Prabhupada has been quoting this multiple times. And if you see in the Bhagavatam is the presentation of Lord Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. In the Bhagavatam, all the various manifestations of the Lord are listed. All the incarnations of the Lord are listed. And Krishna and Balaram are also listed. And just after they are listed, or at the end of the list, then this verse comes, which is a major verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, that Krishna is Bhagavan, that the Lord Sri Krishna is Bhagavan himself. And this is explained several times in the Bhagavatam, including in the very first canto, in the I think it's the beginning of the third chapter actually, where it explains that Mahavishnu, or Lord Vishnu, who is the creator of this world, he comes from Lord Govinda. Even Prahlad Maharaj, when he sees Lord Nishingadev, he recognizes him. Oh, you are my Govinda. It's Govinda. So the Supreme Lord is Krishna, Adi Govinda. And Lord Vishnu is very clearly explained by the 6 Goswamis, is an expansion of Lord Krishna. So this is how we see it. And many people may not see it like this, those who are from Hindu background. But basically, the understanding of Krishna is higher than the understanding of Vishnu. Vishnu is basically the creator of this world. So he is the Supreme Lord, yes. But it is revealed in the Shastra that Vishnu, that he creates this world, and his opulence is shown in how he expands the entire material world. However, the Shastra also reveals Vaikuntha. So Vaikuntapati, that is Narayana. And Narayana is, we can say that Lord Vishnu is the counterpart of Narayana in the material world. Narayana is the supreme personality in the Vaikuntha planets. And the Vaikuntha planets, there is one planet in the Vaikuntha planets, which is the most prominent planet, which is the center, on the topmost planet, but which is the center from which everything emanates. That is Goloka, Golok Vrindavan. So this Goloka planet, that is the planet of Lord Krishna. And everything comes from there. He's the, that's why he's called Krishna, means all attractive. All are looking towards him. Everything comes from him. So this is the philosophy presented by Lord Chaitanya and Madhvacharya. So this is the presentation of our Sampradaya. And yes, it's not just our Sampradaya. The Nimbarkis are also worshipping Radha and Krishna. So that is my answer. You can read it. And Prabhupada, in the Bhagavad Gita, there are, in the introduction, there are places where Prabhupada gives so many references. And for those who are scholarly inclined, you can read the Sandarbhas of Srila Jiva Goswami, where he has given all the references proving that Vishnu comes from Krishna. So it's the concept of Bhagavan. Bhagavan, there's Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman. Vishnu is the Paramatma. He is a portion. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is written, Ekansena stito jagat, that this entire material world, it emanates from one portion of myself. That is Vishnu. And beyond that, Matta Parataram Nanya, there is nothing superior to me, Krishna says. So Vishnu cannot be superior to Krishna, because he says himself, there is no one superior to me. And from me, everything emanates. The Brahman comes from Krishna, the Paramatma comes from Krishna. So the Absolute Truth has three features, as presented in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavatam. And so Krishna is the feature of Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, the cause of all causes. And Vishnu is his expansion. So when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that. And when we read the Bhagavad Gita, we also understand this. Aham sarvasva prabhavo. Everything comes from me, Krishna says. He doesn't say everything comes from Vishnu. He says everything comes from me. And he says Vishnu is a part of me. This is the teaching of Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much for that explanation. Are there any other questions?
I think we should let Prasanta Mata go off, and I think we should let ourselves go off. Janmastami only 2 days count, Monday and Tuesday. So a lot of things to be sorted out. Anyway, if there are other questions. Prasanta, Haribol, thank you very much. You're coming next Saturday, but I'll give you the topic later. Yes? And,
okay, thank you. And I'm sorry I took a little extra time today. I wanted to finish the appearance of Lord Krishna. And
it's okay.
Happy,
It's okay.
that's good.
We are very happy. I move over to Path Prabhuji. Path Prabhuji.
Is he there?
Yes.
Yes, Mataji, I'm here.
Okay.
So, thank you, Prasanta Mataji, for your wonderful class and for enlightenment, for appearance of Lord Krishna. So we are so grateful, and also we pray on Janmastami, eve of Janmastami. We pray the Lord Krishna shower blessings unto you so that you can enlighten everyone across the world. This is our prayer to Lord Sri Radha Shyam Sundar, the Krishna Chandra Bhagavan in Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We can
Okay,
chant.
thank you, Mataji. We are chanting Hare Krishna mantra once. Please join with us. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Grace
Wish
Prasanta
you
Mataji
a
ki
wonderful
Jai.
Janmastami.
jai. Thank you,
I
Mataji.
wish you a wonderful Janmastami celebration in Eldoret.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Mataji, by your blessing.
We're trying.
Send me some pictures.
I will, Mataji. I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, on Tuesday, our children are going to do a play and a video, and I'll send you that as well if you are interested.
Okay.
They are in the group. Some of them are there today as well. And today in class, when I said, what is Janmashtami? And they, some of them said, oh, it is the birthday of Krishna. And one of them said, no, it is the appearance day of Krishna. So they are listening to you and they are following what you are saying. They are just 6 years old, but they are here in the group right now. So thank you, Mataji. You have been very interesting for all of us. And even the children are very happy to hear you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna to the children. Hare Krishna. Good night to all of you. Good evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare
So
Krishna.
Saturday you're there, Prashanta, okay? 6 o'clock.
No.
Huh?
Okay, I have to look at my calendar, but normally, yes.
Yeah, not normally. This time you're not escaping because I'll tell you what your topic is, okay? So no
Okay.
escape. You have to cancel all your appointment to be with us on Saturday. That's the 15th, yeah? All right. Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So Saturday 6 is okay, Prashanta, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Sawa. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prashanta, you leave, otherwise everyone is holding on. You're the chief speaker. We can't leave till you don't leave.
Okay, Hare Krishna. I'm ending the meeting. Hare Krishna.
Yep.